What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having an amazing week. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at DreamRare. That's Instagram at DreamRare, DreamRare. And that's also the name of my website that has my t-shirts. If you would like to buy a shirt or some apparel, I have some hats too. It's dreamrare.com. My website is legendary.vision for my music and other information. I'm going to wait about 10 to 30 seconds for people to get into the live stream. And I want to talk about two major lawsuits that are coming through into the major news cycle, and that I want to talk about because it's definitely in line with stuff that I've been talking about and seen over the past year. So let's wait about 20 more seconds. And as well, you can follow me on Twitter if you would like, Legendary Energy. I have a podcast called Rare Talk Podcast if you're into the whole podcast lifestyle. And hold on one second. So Twitter and Google recently have gotten sued for discrimination, their own game of playing the, politically correct lifestyle and, diversity sort of thing that they've been pushing, which in my opinion is great if you do it in the right sort of way. If you're truly trying to benefit all people and show love, I think that's excellent. In that way, I understand the liberal mindset, and I share a lot of similarities. It's all love and peace to me. But they've somehow used the word diversity and discrimination and turned it into something that is completely not, and have been using it on Google, Twitter, and I'm going to explain exactly how, and you could fact check me, do all your research if you want, if you don't believe me. I personally think that the lawsuits are very, very understandable, and I think they're going to win because Twitter and Google, which includes YouTube, absolutely discriminates against conservatives. And I say this from a middle standpoint. I say this just calling it like it is. I don't consider myself a conservative. I don't consider myself a Republican. I've never voted Republican in my life. I've only registered Democrat to vote for a Democrat that I don't even really follow anymore because I find him to be very dishonest. But I'm just calling it like I see it. And I like free speech. I like love. I like ideas. I like the truth. I like knowledge. I like wisdom. I don't like this fake social justice disguise, which is really just a rampant push for censorship and against free speech. And that's exactly what Google, Facebook, and Twitter have 1,000% been doing. They're 100% discriminatory towards conservatives. They're discriminatory towards like the typical standard lifestyle of just having a wife. And, I don't care if you're lesbian. I don't care if you want to date 50 million people, if you're a polygamist. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care what gender you identify with. Me personally, I'm not going to argue with you because I don't care. I support it. I'm LGBT friendly. It's all love. But it does not give you the right to discriminate against the normal man or the normal woman or the conservative Christian man or the conservative Christian woman. In no way, shape, or form does real diversity mean you can discriminate against people. And that's what Twitter and YouTube have been doing. They're fake, spiritual people, and they're really just very hateful, nasty people. On Twitter, they're 1,000% biased. They've suspended multiple conservative accounts, and they've taken the blue check mark away from multiple conservatives and people with a ideology that might be a little bit mean, but to the person that's not trying to hear those things, or, a lot of the things that they say are things that personally I would not say. But if you're going to do it on the right, then you have to do it on the left. And what's been happening on all the major social media platforms is they censor the right, they censor conservatives, they censor the alt-right, but the alt-left, which totally exists, and it's just as bad, if not worse in some cases, than the alt-right because it's untamed and untalked about, the alt-left gets to run rampant. So, for instance, to talk about the hypocrisy and the discrimination on Twitter, Roger Stone, who is a popular conservative political trickster, as he calls himself, he was suspended from Twitter for saying like F-U-C-K to Jake Tapper or somebody from CNN. There's people that curse and scream on Twitter every single day. There's racism, there's sexism, there's xenophobia. As long as it comes from somebody who is a quote-unquote liberal or a quote-unquote left-wing person, they let it fly all day. Even to the point that full-on pornography is allowed on Twitter. And I'm not, do what you want to do. Like, to me, Twitter's a free platform. I'm not a hater. I don't say, oh my God, they owe me something. They owe me nothing. It's a free platform. But if you're going to have full-on pornography where you can literally, in your newsfeed, be scrolling and just see a video of a woman being, having sex with up to 5 men at a time. And I don't care, pornography, that's a whole nother discussion whether you agree with it or not. I'm not hating on the actual video, but if you're going to allow full-on pornography on your website, and that's totally okay, and I can scroll and see literally full-on pornography, minutes of it, and a conservative can't say one word without being suspended, I mean, obviously they discriminate, they're politically biased, and so much so, they're clamping down on the average American. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about Latinos. They don't care about black people. They certainly don't care about white people. They don't care about anybody. All they care about is using people as political pawns. Like, oh, look, we have all these illegal immigrants here. And it's like, to them, they think illegal immigrants are like all Latinos. They think it's a synonym for Latino. That's how lowly they think of me and you and other people, is they think that it's all a big news story just for the big scoop. And I'm tired of it. And as far as the Google lawsuit goes, Google is ridiculously terrible and biased and one-sided and just straight up ignorant when it comes to their censorship program. I'm going to read some stuff because I have it here now. They have almost censored and demonetized almost every single person on Google. And I'm going to get into why, which is owned by YouTube. Or, I'm sorry, YouTube, which is owned by Google. I'm going to get into it for a second. But they used one right-wing extremist. There's one crazy right-wing guy that no one even knows who he is on YouTube. Instead of just suspending his account, they decided to roll out this whole social justice, super liberal, super, anti-free speech, like hateful, hate speech, God policy to block almost every political speaker, almost every comedian, every single person that you could think of that has any sort of truth or, something outside of the mainstream media to share. They get demonetized on YouTube now. Every single video I put up, almost every single one on YouTube, gets immediately demonetized, and there's no curses in it, there's no profanity. I could be having a conversation and they'll demonetize it because they're out of control and they're totally biased. I'm going to get into that later with, I have 19 tidbits. This is from a news article about what Google did to this conservative employee, James DaMore. He's all over TV. He wrote the Google memo. I'm going to get into that for a second, but I want to point out the hypocrisy in Google real quick before I do that. They've cost people like me, content creators, I don't make that much money on YouTube, so I'm not tripping about it that much, but they've caused really good people that I enjoy on YouTube tens of hundreds of millions of dollars because their new policy includes hateful content, video content that promotes discrimination or disparages, humiliates individual or group of people by origin, blah, 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 inappropriate language, sexually suggestive content, violence, all of that stuff sounds good on paper. But they've used it as a huge blanket to take tens of millions of dollars away from people. And I would be fine, like I said, if they were really censoring all the bad comment and then only good content was rising. But that's not what happened. They got caught a month or two ago. They had literal pedophiles running all over the YouTube kids section. They had to remove millions of videos, 50,000 plus channels, hundreds of thousands of content that was getting not only allowed on the YouTube kids section, but they were giving advertising to it. So when you're this, overly fake social justice warrior, for lack of a better term, psychopath, and you start worrying about what conservatives are doing and not being able to have a conversation and blocking all the right-wing content, then you allow, hundreds of thousands of videos that were like a hotbed for pedophiles in the YouTube kids section. This just happened. Now you could barely find it when you search it. You see all this Logan Paul stuff, but this was a huge major scandal that YouTube had. For over a year or 2 years, they had a bunch of disgusting content advertised and marketed and given to little kids, which they did nothing about, probably because they were too busy censoring every single person. If you talk about politics, real life events, any of this stuff on YouTube, you get demonetized. And this is a huge platform. And on top of that, what really frustrated me, and like I said, it doesn't affect me financially because I don't make that much money on YouTube. I never did. They always were censoring me or didn't want me to make money, whatever, or personal problems. Maybe it was my fault. I wasn't good enough at it at the time. But in general, people started using Patreon because YouTube demonetized them. I use DonorBox. I put the link in every single video I do so I can have funding to do this because I know I'm not going to get it from the major websites and nobody's going to want to advertise with me because I'm too honest. They're too busy advertising terrible foods and McDonald's and pharmacy pills, so of course they don't want to do it with me. I'm too honest and healthy. But YouTube removed external links from videos. So not only did they take all the money away from content creators like me, then they took away the main source of getting people to click. Because you used to be like, hey, click right here and you can go to my Patreon. They removed that a couple months after they removed all the money. I mean, are they just trying to run content creators dry? What are they doing? That's what YouTube was created on. It was created on individual content creators, and they've sold out to the big corporations like everyone has. But here, I want to go to the lawsuit of Google. I have the official stuff here, and this is really disturbing what they were doing, but it's no surprise to anybody because this is what they've been doing. And I want to read real quick the definition of discrimination, because I think a lot of people have forgot. Me personally, I don't have a discriminatory bone in my body. I don't care what race, religion, gender, culture, ethnicity you are. I embrace it. It's all love. I judge people by the content of their character. I judge by the respect, by their honesty, by who they are. I mean, that's what we are. We're all a bunch of souls. We're all a bunch of spirits living inside these flesh bodies, and we make a whole big stink about, oh, I'm darker, I'm lighter than you, I'm from here, I'm from there. To me, it's a big joke. I mean, we all have good culture, music, food, good vibes, experiences to teach each other. I don't understand the big hoopla about race, religion, and gender, but, you know, that's for the media, and that's for anybody who plays along with that game. But I'm reading the definition before I start of discrimination. The definition is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. So it's the unjust and prejudiced treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, and sex. So this should be basic common knowledge, what I'm going to say next. It should be something that everybody understands, that everybody already knows, but I have to say it because for some reason, what I'm about to say is controversial. And oh my God, he's so crazy for telling the truth that we all know deep down inside. But you can be prejudiced against anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter if you're a woman, doesn't matter if you're a Christian, doesn't matter if you're a Muslim, doesn't matter if you're a Latino, doesn't matter if you're white, doesn't matter if you're a white man. You can be prejudiced if you're judging people based on their skin color and their gender. If you're a boss, pick the best people for the job. If 10 people walk in, I'm picking the best person for the job. I don't care if they're an Indian man or a black man or a Muslim woman. I don't care. I'm judging based off their character and based off the position. But companies like Google, they've gone so far down the left-wing vacuum. They're alt-left, and I disavow racist people all the time. If they're on the right side, I disavow them and kick them off my page usually. But why does the alt-left, they act like they don't exist? Because it's a rampant growing problem, and it's not just on the streets of Charlottesville like 5 guys with a sign trying to talk about a statue that no one cared about a week ago. That's what the alt-right was doing. I'm talking about millions of people infiltrated the mainstream media all over social media to the point where you can't even exist and say the truth without people jumping down your throat. So here's a bunch of things that James DaMore, who is the guy who's suing Google, he worked at Google, he put out a big memo. I read it. The thing was a total nothing burger to me. I mean, it's just a bunch of basic common sense. A few things I agree with, a few things that are debatable, but nothing crazy. He just said, basically was calling out Google's diversity program and saying Google's diversity program is actually racist and sexist, and they're concerned with everything except the content of your character and who you are and what you're about. And maybe this is why there's more men in tech. Maybe it's because men naturally are driven towards tech. Like, oh my God, there's a bunch of white guys who like technology, and there's a bunch of Indian guys who like technology. Whoa, oh, that's so crazy. We got to change it up. I mean, who really cares? If women are into it, let them be into it. If an Indian man or a white man or a black man is into tech, let them be into tech. I didn't know it was this big deal. It's basically what James DaMore said, probably worded a little bit, more eloquently, and at certain points said different things that I'm not co-signing because I don't remember the entire thing. But in general, that's what it was about, and Google immediately fired him for basically calling them out on the truth, and they're like, we got to get this guy out of here. So here's a bunch of things from the lawsuit that he says that they did. I mean, I'm not surprised. I've worked in the workforce. I know what these people are like. It's a nothing burger, no surprise to me, but it's definitely an interesting thing that Google and Twitter are being sued because, like I've been saying for a long time, I have much love for the liberal mindset. I have much love for peace, equality. I actively call out people on the right that I think are being ignorant, and people do it to me. I interview somebody that's a religion that they don't like, and they yell at me and stuff. I get it too. I know it exists. I'm not co-signing the ignorance on the right, but what I'm saying is the left has been so caught up in blaming the right, they don't realize they're the worst oppressors of all. I mean, you look at some of the content from Huffington Post and Vox and all of these other like pseudo-woke, like pseudo-intellectual, like activists, like low-key just really racist people. They have all these anti-woman, anti-man, anti-Asian, anti-white man stuff. You can't find it about any other race or gender. I don't want to read it about black men. I don't want to read it about black women. I don't want to read it about any race, religion, or gender. So why would I want you to be like spewing all this hate speech out against the white male? I mean, it's disgusting me either way, but this is the life that they live. All right, so James DaMore said, 1, living as a plural being. He was getting shamed at Google for just wanting a normal relationship. He said that Google furnishes a large number of internal mailing lists catering to employees with alternative lifestyles, including furries, which is having sex in an animal suit, which is fine. Well, do what you want to do. I don't really care. Polygamy, transgenderism, and plurality for the purpose of discussing sexual topics. He said the only lifestyle that seemed to be not openly discussed on Google's internal forums is traditional heterosexual monogamy. And so his claim is that they have all these groups and all these, subgenres and email lists for everything under the sun except for a normal relationship. I mean, I'm not surprised. Do I think that alone is enough to sue? No. But wait till you hear some of the other stuff that they're saying. Number 2, don't hire white men. A few messages show Google employees proposing hiring practices that exclude certain groups of men or putting women in charge of hiring for a year. And this is a post from somebody at Google. Here's a suggestion from my wife. And it's a woman. She's a lesbian, which is fine, just for context. Here's a suggestion from my wife. I think only women and people of color should be allowed to make hiring decisions at Google for a year. And or randomly assign a third of each position type to only be hired by women, people of color, or unselected type. Look at the results of the hiring data. Google likes experiment. Do an experiment. I have to stress this again, just for the people that are going to come in, I'm sure, and say a bunch of things that I never said. I don't like racism. I don't like ignorance. I don't like xenophobia. I don't like sexism. So what part of the word discrimination did you not understand? The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. When you talk about in the workplace, the people that act like they're fighting racism are the ones that are the only ones talking about race all the time. They're the most racist people. They could take something basic and make it into something it's not. I mean, what happened to just be humans? We can never just be humans and spirits like we're supposed to be if you keep making everything racist. If any other, I think only Christian males should be hired for a year, and I think only white people should be hired for a year. I would think that's insane. If someone wrote that, I'd be like, you're a disgusting, hypocritical racist. If it was anti or pro-white person, I don't care. I'm just saying, this is what they're doing. And this is what they're doing at the Golden Globes, too. It's like every chance they get, they're like, we're not being paid enough money. Women are being paid less. We hate men. We need to destroy all men. And then you have Seth Meyers standing up there, and he's like, thank you so much, women. Thank you so much for allowing me this platform to do what I do. Thank you so much, women. You guys are the sexist ones. I'm not saying to not stand up for women in need. That's all great. But you wonder why the people on the right use the word cuck. I'm not justifying name calling, and I get a little upset sometimes, but it's like you're doing that. You're just like, I'm sorry for even existing. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to breathe now, woman. It's like, how is that helping women? There's women all over the Middle East and Europe being gang raped, and these are the same people that you're trying to bring over without even having a discussion. And someone like me or James DaMore wants to have a discussion. It's like, I'm not saying everybody's a rapist, but don't you think you should, check these people before we immigrate? I don't care if they're white, black, whatever. Don't you think they're like, no checks, no walls, no laws. Let's just bring everybody here because we hate white people. I mean, that's literally the modern day liberal discussion. And as somebody who's been liberal my whole life or left-leaning, that's not liberal, that's racist, that's sexist, that's xenophobic, and it's just moronic, it's idiotic. So reading these stuff about James DaMore, I'm not surprised. I see Google do it and Twitter do it and Facebook do it. Their whole news section, Facebook's news section, every day is just all anti-Trump. They don't care if CNN literally flip-flopped on the story. I shared something yesterday where it's like, women need paid leave. And then it was like, Trump says women get paid leave. And then the next day it was like, oh, paid leave is bad for women. That's like what the Facebook news section is. It's a bunch of alt-left, extremist leftist propaganda where they're like, the Buddhist monks are genociding the Muslims. And it's like, the Buddhist monks are genociding? If that's truly happening, I'm so sorry. God bless everybody of every race, religion, and gender. I have fans of every religion, and they say, Anomaly, thank you for being kind and honest. I'm not hating on any, but it's like Buddhist monks. It's like they'll blame a Buddhist monk now. And if Buddhist monks are doing something, stop them. But I find it very hard to believe from the same people who lie about everything in all the news sections, they ban and block right-wing people for saying certain stuff. And then they don't ban, a left-wing person can say anything. They can start being racist, sexist, xenophobic, discriminatory, and they don't care. There's so much more stuff. Let's see. Discourage them all throughout the industry. There were people after he put out his memo, which was basically a very kind like, hey, Google, I think you're going a little overboard with this diversity and actually being the racist and sexist and xenophobic ones. And they said, I guess there was an email or something said, if we really care about diversity in tech, we don't just not need to chase serial offenders out of Google. We need to discourage them all throughout the industry. We should be willing to give a wink and a nod to other Silicon Valley employers over terminable offenses, not send the worst part of tech packing with a smile. So they were basically threatening, we need to get rid of all people like James DaMore. Anybody with common sense, anybody with a brain, anybody that doesn't want to just like completely bend over and just like give up everything that they've ever had for, a woman just because of her gender. I mean, it's ridiculous stuff. And I think women are incredibly talented and incredibly smart, incredibly beautiful. That's why I try to empower women, and women, powerful women probably already follow me because they don't want to listen to this nonsense, but they catch people in this victim mentality. They want you to be weak. They want you to be hateful. They want you to be negative. They want you to have a Google job where you literally have the best job of the 21st century, making six-figure salary and still finding something to complain about. I mean, come on. A woman working at Google, tell a woman in the 1900s or the 1950s or 20 years ago, tell my grandma and my mom how bad Google is working. I mean, my parents worked in factories. My grandparents worked in factories. Both my parents worked jobs, physical labor jobs for 40, 50-hour a week for 30 years. They didn't work in factories and work physical labor jobs their whole life. So I could be, attacked by a bunch of, hateful, negative people on the left saying, oh, you have to be 89 genders. And if you're not 89 genders, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like, that's what they're becoming. If you read this whole thing, they literally threatened James DaMore with violence multiple times. Multiple people emailed him. Let me find a clip of it if I have it. I can't find it right now, but someone emailed him threatening him violence. Somebody said, I wouldn't say violence had no place. So not only can they not have a discussion about stuff, and the craziest part about it is if you read James DaMore's Google memo, it's not a big deal at all. There's certain things that I would say, yeah, you can disagree with, even if, they wanted to just let him go, if they weren't doing all this other crazy discriminatory stuff. I would say, who cares? Yeah, that's fine. Disagree with it. But when you see what he said, it's not a big deal. Nothing about it's a big deal. And you see how they reacted, punching him with violence. They are who they say they're stopping. They say they want to stop Nazis, but you combine all of the anti-white, anti-man, anti-Christian, and me personally, I mean, some people think I'm white. Some people think I'm Spanish. I mean, I'm a mud of everything. To me, it doesn't even matter. I wouldn't even have this conversation if the society we lived in wasn't so ignorant that I have to. But I'm not even Christian. I'm not all of these things, whatever. I'm a man, clearly. But if you take all of the propaganda against the white male, Christian, conservative male, and combine it, you can't find more propaganda against any race. You can't find more propaganda against any gender. You can't find more propaganda against any religion. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. They are everything that they say they're trying to stop. I mean, you shouldn't be racist against somebody that's white. You shouldn't be racist against somebody that's black. You shouldn't be racist against somebody that's like brown and comes from India. I mean, you should judge somebody based on their character. But for some reason, the alt-left, which now includes a large portion of the companies Google, Twitter, and probably Facebook, they think that's okay. They think it's okay to be racist in the name of not being racist. They think it's okay to be sexist in the name of not being sexist. They think it's okay to make up 50 million stories about the President of the United States, lie about him multiple times. CNN, apologize. New York Times, retracted story. Washington Post, retracted fake story. I have 50 plus examples of them lying and making up stuff. They can do all of that. But if you even support the president, if you even say, hey, I think he's not that bad, then I have to read a text, hey, I can't even tolerate your opinion, even though you're smarter and a nicer person than me and kinder and more intelligent and understand more and research more. I don't even want to be friends with you because you said something truthful and my whole life is a lie, my whole company's a lie, and YouTube is lying and Twitter's lying and Facebook's lying. This is the world we unfortunately live in. I don't care if people don't like Donald Trump. I say it all the time. I understand why you wouldn't like Donald Trump. I get it. He's very aggressive. He's very arrogant, and many times he's ridiculous. He's a complete Twitter troll. Personally, I think he's great. I think he does a good job, and I see the 100 good things that he's doing that the media never talks about. So I'll let you be you, but that's how I feel. Not only do they not want to have a conversation about it, but they always do the exact opposite of what they say they're going to do. They want to help women. They want to protect women. Oh my God, time's up, and me too. Yeah, I'm all for it. Time's up on the man rapist, and me too. I've been sexually abused too. I've had my butt grabbed a bunch of times, and I've never grabbed any butt without permission. So technically, if I was a woman and I decided to, I could be like, oh my God, I was sexually assaulted, but I just don't care. It's just not a big deal. But in general, these same people that are so pro-women, they expect us to watch an award show with the biggest perpetrators, with the biggest sexual abusers, and also the people that spread ridiculously terrible messages throughout society. They'll glorify crystal meth, they'll glorify drugs, they'll glorify violence, they'll glorify gangs, and then be like, oh, why do we have all this stuff? It's because that's all you glorify in your movies, and you're the ones raping people. It's not the middle America who you're blaming everything on, but we're supposed to watch them preach to us on how to not be a rapist when all of their friends are rapists? I mean, and then you say something and they're like, oh, you must hate women. Simultaneously, they're all for bringing over hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of migrants from certain areas that have high levels of actual rapists, like in certain countries like Sweden now, or the UK, and also all over the Middle East and many other countries. Pakistan is notorious for rape gangs, and I'm not saying all Pakistan. There's tens of millions of people in Pakistan. I have a lot of Pakistani supporters, but there's actual rapists out there who will literally physically rape you. There's stories of rapists going into hotel or hospital rooms and raping somebody who's pregnant in a hospital, but you won't hear about that on the news because it doesn't fit their weird, creepy, fake agenda of hating themselves and hating the United States of America when it's one of the greatest countries to ever exist in the entire world. Of course, we have some issues to work on. I'm not saying we're all immigrants, literally. We have millions of people here already. We have millions of illegal immigrants that we have to deal with. We have millions of people from Salvador, all of this stuff. Why would we bring hundreds of thousands of people? And I'm all for having the discussion of, hey, we shouldn't have the ban because of this, or hey, we should bring these people because of this. I'd love to have the discussion. I'm all for new people. I don't care. But the difference is, you have the right say one thing, and then the left says nothing. They don't even acknowledge that anybody outside the straight white American male can possibly commit a crime or do anything wrong in the world. So they're like, oh, no borders, no security. Let's bring everyone here. Let's chop down all the borders. Let's let everyone come here. Let's just destroy everything, and just whatever. We have to have some sort of law. I'm not anti anything. I have millions of friends, not millions of friends, but I guess, millions of views, whatever. But they won't have a discussion. That's the point I'm trying to get to. It's not even like they're like, okay, we get, they're saying it mean, and that's mean, but here's how I feel. It's just absolute nothing. And then they blanket the statement. So in every way, they say they're pro-women and pro-women's rights, but they want to make life worse for women. They want to bring in people from certain areas of the world where they don't even have the right to free speech, where they don't even have all of the rights that American women enjoy. I would say as an American woman, you're so privileged that you don't even know how terrible the world could possibly be. until it actually happens. Then you'll be like, oh my God, you know what? America was not that bad because women can do anything now. I mean, what can't a woman do? And I'm not saying that there's not areas to be improved in, but the modern day Google employee or Twitter employee or people who act like they did against James DaMore, they're racist in the name of not being racist. They're sexist in the name of not being sexist. They're xenophobic in the name of not being xenophobic. First of all, they're like, oh, well, it's a Muslim ban. It never was a Muslim ban. It was a few countries that are, have some issues and things that we could work out. Meanwhile, the top couple Muslim countries had no sort of ban on it, so they lied about that. Meanwhile, they're being xenophobic against Russians. You can't even post Sputnik, which is like a credible Russian news source, on any sort of social media anymore or certain websites because they banned Russian news. They're xenophobic against the Russians because Hillary Clinton and the media told them that Russia hacked the election when it never happened. They're racist, sexist, xenophobic, hateful, discriminatory. And I'm not saying all people. If this is not you, if you consider yourself left-leaning, it's not you. It's not you. But it's become so widespread. Like, if I saw people like Richard Spencer at the head of Google and stuff, and they're like, hey, we don't like anybody of any other color in America, or like the most extremist fringe right person, I would be standing here saying the same thing, saying this guy's disgusting. He probably shouldn't be the head of Google, and they probably shouldn't work here because we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of free rights. We're a nation that doesn't care what skin color you have. We're a nation that gives you, freedom for race, religion, and gender. So he should not be in Google. But for some reason, we ignore the racism, we ignore the sexism, we ignore the xenophobia, we ignore the hate, we ignore the blocks at free speech if they do it in the name of free speech and then in the name of hate speech. And let me just remind you real quick, this is how, and I'm not saying it's that bad yet, it's never going to get that bad because luckily this is the United States of America and although we have problems, we also have a lot of solutions. But this is how socialism and communism starts. This is how a Hitler-like regime starts. It starts from too much government power. When you want to talk about politics on the right and the libertarian side, it's less power to the government, no matter how racist that you think somebody right-wing might be. And I don't disagree that there are people on the right that are racist. They want less government control, more freedom to the states, freedom to the people to decide. The left, ironically, puts all the power in the hands of the federal government, wants to take away your free rights, wants to make everything extremely authoritarian, and they want to do it in the name of anti-fascism. It makes no sense. I'm sorry, it just makes no sense. I don't care if it's conservative. I don't care if it's Republican. I don't care if it's Democrat or whatever weird name or title or hashtag that you guys made up about it and say, oh, now that we made a hashtag, you can't talk about it because now we lied about this, but we cornered you, and if you talk about it, we're going to call you racist and sexist. I'm not falling for any of that. I'm not entertaining any of that. And the reason is because I care about racism, I care about sexism, I care about xenophobia, and I care about discrimination. If I didn't care about people, I would just go on with my life. Because guess what? I don't get discriminated against. I don't have a problem. I've never been one of those person like, oh my God, they're attacking the white male. I don't care. I mean, depending how many sun rays I get, people think I'm everything. They think I'm Armenian. They think I'm everything. So I don't get discriminated against. Plus, I think it's also how you carry yourself. If you have good energy, I mean, no one cares, especially where I live, where I grew up. No one talked about stuff as much. It was never a thing until everyone made it this huge thing. And then they wonder why it won't go away because you made it into something it's not. And now you can't even have a conversation without people calling you racist or sexist or xenophobic. Let's leave it to the real victims, because when you make everything racist, guess who gets affected negatively? The real people facing discrimination and the real people that are being, hit by the federal government and the United States' history of, racial discrimination. And they're being hit by drugs and opioids and crack epidemics. These type of things go under the radar when you make everything racist. So you're actually hurting people who are victims of racism when you lie about everything and say that everything's racist. Same with sexist, same with xenophobic, and same with all that stuff. So that's why I even have these talks, is because I do want to stop it. And I know that the mainstream media uses these things as a complete psyops to then get you to vote whichever way they want you to vote. They know if they can wrangle you in by race, religion, and gender, that they can get your vote. And if you take away race, I'm not saying that you have to, because I know some people are very prideful based on their ethnicity. I've had people yell at me of all the ethnicities, like, anomaly, I'm Italian or I'm black. Like, how dare you say I'm not? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, if for a second, if you forget what skin color you have, and you forget what religion you are, and you forget what gender you are, would you like those politicians if none of that mattered? And you might find out a lot of the most popular politicians, if you take away for a second, I'm not saying for your whole life, if you just think outside of your own head for a second and forget your race, gender, and all these things, they're not saying anything. There's no solutions, there's no policy, there's no structure, there's no strategy. They don't have one. Their whole strategy is calling everybody else racist. And when it comes to Google and it comes to Twitter, I've seen the discrimination. And I don't care if you take down right-wing extremists or people who are hating on Muslims and, people who are cursing at CNN. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. I don't get hit like that because I'm not that rude. If one day they take me down for something, then you'll know, okay, they're getting Orwellian because I barely even say anything. But if you're going to take down people on the right, you have to take down people on the left. And I would think you would want to take down pornography if you're taking down people for having political views. That would make sense to me if you want to avoid getting sued for discrimination. But apparently Twitter's not that bright. And as far as Google and YouTube, I've seen them demonetize not just conservatives, but also left-leaning people who are honest, people who just cut to the core, and journalists and whatnot, all being censored by YouTube, all being demonetized by YouTube. YouTube not only sucked all the money out of it, but they let pedophiles run rampant while they did it, let pedophiles and pedophile playground situations get free revenue on their ads for a year while they're targeting a bunch of political people. And then they took down the external link in the video so people couldn't link to their donor box or Patreon. So, Google, that makes no sense to me. I've seen a clip of them in Congress or Senate or I don't know, one of those political playgrounds. They were talking about, oh my God, InfoWars came up in the search engines. You got to block that down. And the one guy's like, I'm so sorry, sir. We'll get rid of it right away. It's like, what the heck is wrong with you? I think the Washington Post is fake news. I think New York Times is fake news. I know CNN is fake news. And you guys not only feature those news sections, but you collaborate with them to fight fake news. How are you going to work with the fakest news to shut down fake news? It makes no sense. Oh yeah, we're gonna shut down the fake news, so we're gonna get the fakest news organizations to work with us, and then we're gonna really fight fake news. That's what these websites do. Meanwhile, Alex Jones gets demonetized. Like everything about him, he gets hit, and he still somehow gets up the search engine. Just let him stay there. That means you guys are so incompetent that you're slanting the scales, just like the election. Doesn't this sound familiar? You're slanting the scales to make it impossible for you to lose, and you still lose. Maybe that means you suck more than Alex Jones. I'm not saying Alex Jones has all the answers. I'm not saying that I agree with everything that Alex Jones says. But if you slant the algorithm, if you cheat every step of the stage and he still beats you in the algorithm, you don't got to change the law to kick him out of the algorithm. You just suck. It's the same with Donald Trump. If you can't beat Donald Trump, you had all the media attention. You had all the celebrities. You had all the politicians behind him, Democratic and Republican. You had everything under the sun to beat Donald Trump, and you still lost. It's because you suck. It's not because America's racist. It's not white women's fault. It's not Christian people's fault. It's your fault. You suck. You suck more than Trump. You still suck more than Trump. And in the last year and a half, although I did not vote for Donald Trump, I can clearly see who the worst is. You suck so much more than Donald Trump. You're 50,000 times worse than him in every sort of the way. You're 50,000 times worse than him mentally, spiritually, solution-based wise, every step of the way. I'm not saying he's all being perfect too, but you wonder why they lose elections and they can't beat Alex Jones and algorithms. It's because they suck more. And that's fine. I don't care who's good and who's not good. It's not a big competition to me. But if you're going to rig the scales every which way possible, like they did against Donald Trump, like they do against conservatives, like they do against Alex Jones, who's not even really a conservative, he's like a truth teller. He's been talking anti-George Bush stuff for 50 years, so I know he's not right-wing, because I've heard him when I was a kid. He was the only one calling out George Bush. It wasn't the mainstream media. It was Alex Jones calling out Republicans. But they slant the scales every sort of way. They still lose, and then they have to do something crazy. They're like, all right, let's just fire this guy because we need more. We have too many Indian guys and white guys. We need more women. I mean, this type of racism is ridiculous. This type of discrimination is ridiculous. And like I said, I don't really specifically care. You're not going to stop me from succeeding. You're not going to stop me from reaching my dreams. I don't care what you do. My whole life has been an uphill battle. My whole life I've been underrated. So I've fought against all odds. I'll continue to fight against all odds. That's the type of person I am. I could be down 20 points with a minute left and I still think I could win because I go hard. I go hard in the paint per se. I hustle. So you're not going to stop me. I don't care. But for context and as far as preventing an Orwellian-type society from coming into existence, because I don't think it's here now. I don't think it's ever going to get here. So spoiler alert, I'm not going to scare you and then sell you a product. I don't think we're going to get there. I think everything's going to be fine. It's all going to balance out. But it's going to be people like James DaMore, people like myself, people like whoever, who step up to the plate and say enough is enough. We will fight extremism on the right. We will fight the Nazis with you. We'll fight the extremists. But you also have to not be extreme. Because if you have a Nazi on the right side and then you have an alt-left lunatic on the left side, doesn't make you not a lunatic just because that guy's a Nazi. That's not how things work. You have to look in the mirror sometimes. You have to get better. You have to realize, oh my God, I've spent my whole life fighting conservatives and I'm 20 times as worse as them. I know it's a hard concept for a lot of these people to understand, and in just a day, they could snap out of it and they'll never have to worry about it again because it's not a big deal. I don't think people are bad people. I have love for everybody. I think we're all souls and spirits and we're all, connected on this crazy planet. But just a little self-awareness, and the whole world would get better instantly. Change yourself to change the world. If everyone did it, the world would be better tomorrow. And I wanted to add real quick before I leave, Andrew Bogut recently got attacked. This guy, Andrew Bogut, he played on the LA Lakers. He's a free agent now. I hope he gets picked up to a team. I follow him on Twitter because he was retweeting a lot of stuff. He was saying like, oh, don't assume my gender. And he was like making jokes like me or, Paul Joseph Watson or whatever. And he got attacked by a journalist. And they're like, don't hire him. Don't let Andrew Bogut. He's a right-wing extremist. He's a Nazi. He's following Mike Cernovich. He's blah, blah, blah. It's like they're trying to ruin this poor guy's life, Andrew Bogut. And the dude is like, maybe he's conservative. Maybe he is a Republican, in which case, spoiler alert, who cares? Oh no, he wants smaller government and more tax dollars back in his pocket. Oh no, we need to be overtaxed and we need big government to run all our lives. Spoiler alert, he might be a Republican, he might be a conservative, but even if he's not, maybe he's just like me, that he likes listening to both sides and he finds people like Paul Joseph Watson a lot more entertaining, a lot more honest than a lot of left-wing people. You shouldn't be allowed to ruin his life. They're trying to ruin Andrew Bogut's life based off him just like sharing a few funny jokes. I mean, that's the society we live in. So once again, to wrap it up, Twitter and Facebook are facing lawsuits. The big one is Google. I said Twitter and Facebook, excuse me. It's Google and Twitter. The big one is Google with James DaMore, who has become somewhat of a celebrity. I do think this is a cornerstone pinnacle case because I think society, men are not perfect. Human beings are not perfect. And we always just like kind of go back and forth and back and forth. And we've had extreme racism and discrimination that we've had to come through. We had to have civil rights and all of this stuff because it was necessary. We had disgusting people judging people based on their skin color. But it's kind of swung back in that direction where we've gone so far left that if these people are not stopped, they're the type of people when I think of like, oh my God, someone who's going to like exterminate a whole race. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but these people need to be stopped because they're running rampant all over the major news companies and media companies, and these are the people that influence our kids. These are the people that raise our kids, and they're raising, the younger people and ourselves, people who are older. They're raising us to be like completely ridiculous. I mean, I don't know a nicer word to put it, ridiculous. So let's listen to both sides. Let's have a conversation. If somebody's a conservative, why not just talk to them? Maybe you'll find some things in common. Maybe you'll disagree with them, but spoiler alert, you don't got to punch them in the face or rip them out of your company because you have a political difference with them. this is getting ridiculous. So I totally agree with it. I've seen Google and YouTube demonetize people. I absolutely think Twitter and YouTube are totally biased, as is Facebook. I would not sue Facebook or anything. Facebook's been amazing to me. But if you read their featured news section, I think almost all of the media is like 95% alt-left. And, you know, some of them are good liberals and good journalism, but it's not that much journalism. So that's how I feel about it. I think Google and Twitter had this coming. Unfortunately, I wish them much success in the future. But please allow a discussion, and you can't censor one side and let one side run rampant. If you're going to censor the right, then censor the left for doing the same thing. And when it comes to the workplace, don't discriminate. I mean, I don't know why this is like a revolutionary against the grain statement, but I don't care who you are. Don't discriminate in the workplace. Don't hate somebody because they're a man. Don't hate somebody because they're a woman. There's absolutely racism and sexism on the right. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's clearly on the left, and it's about time someone did something about it. Don't hate someone. Don't judge someone based on their skin color or religion or political views. Judge them by the content of their character. Very basic stuff, but somehow in this society, that's like a, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I think this talk has gone far enough. I'm going to post my links below if you would like to support to my movement. I'm going to post my donation link. If you would like to buy a shirt, dreamrare.com. I'm going to post that down there. And I have new shirts coming out tonight in like a few hours. Don't be a low energy crab. We finally got a low energy crab shirt. It's going to be good vibes. It's going to be a funny shirt. And I'm going to post my email list below as well. If you'd like to sign up to the email list, it's free, it's easy. So the donor box link below, the link to dreamrare.com, which has shirts below, the link to the email list below, and I'll also link my new song, Bob Ross, which is available on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Play, Tidal, all of that stuff. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless the world. And God bless, I don't know, everyone. I think I got everyone with that. Thank you.